All right, I'm going to call to order the Town Council regular meeting, November 18th, 2025. Our invocation will be done by Tori Liferidge, pastor of Grace Reformed Episcopal Church.
Let us pray. Gracious and almighty God, it is to you whom we come, you who we have our trust, our hope, and our faith. We thank you for an opportunity to gather together, O God, in this space to seek to serve your people, O God, in this your creation. We pray right now for our council members, for our town leaders. We pray for all who have a hand in helping this town to run. We ask that you allow your spirit to lead and guide in all their decisions. Grant your wisdom and discernment, O God, that all things may be done according to your will and for your glory and for the impact of all your people. And endure them with your power and your perseverance. We thank you, we trust you, we honor you, O God, and this in your holy and precious name we pray. We say amen.
Amen. Amen. Pledge of Allegiance will be done by Council Member Law.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have a proclamation. November 20th is World Pancreatic Cancer Day in the town of Moncks Corner. Did anyone come for the presentation? Okay. Approval of minutes for October 21st, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Mayor's report. It was a busy time from council to council. On October 24th, I was able to spend some time with the Berkeley High School band where I catered a dinner. Councilman Law and his family also did one on 10/30. It's always great to be with the youth of our community and to spend time with them and just hang around with them. Also on 10/24, it was rec night at the Berkeley High School football game. We fed the recreation cheerleaders and players. Councilman Dennis was also in attendance. 10/25, I participated in the 2K walk for breast cancer at the recreation complex. As always, thank you to staff and everyone that helped put that together. Also on 10/25, I attended the Scouts of America car show at the administration building, another time to spend time with the youth in our community. Also on 10/25, that was a busy day, I attended the adult flag football tournament held at the recreation complex. That's the first time that was held in the town, and it was really interesting to go out there and see some really great athletes playing football. Also on 10/25, we hosted that weekend a travel ball tournament, so I went out and I always like to meet and greet the fans that come in from out of town, tell them a little bit about the town of Moncks Corner, some of the places to eat and different things like that. 10/26, I attended the United Methodist Church's Trunk or Treat event and had the honor of selecting the best decoration. I enjoyed seeing everyone in the community and hanging out there a little bit. 10/28, I met with teachers and students at Oak and Arrow School, which serves homeschooled children from kindergarten through high school. I enjoyed answering their questions and concluded the visit by reading the Silly Mayor's book to the younger students. On 10/29, I attended the very successful Trunk or Treat on Main Street, where Carolyn and I dressed up as your happy hippies. We had a great turnout from pretty much every council member showed up to that. That was a great event. Thank you to staff, police department, fire department, everyone that helped put that together. On the 11/2, I was invited to the Masonic Lodge to participate in a health fair and luncheon. And on 11/6, I was invited to St. John's Christian Academy to serve as a judge in their fall pumpkin decorating contest. I'm going to tell you, the creativity of these students is just outstanding. It's so hard to pick your top three because they're all so good. And later that day, I was invited back to their fall festival where they had many great games and a lot of great food. 11/7, the town organized a meal at Swig and Swine to recognize all the veterans who work for the town. We enjoyed great fellowship and an outstanding meal. I want to thank Councilman Dennis for coming out and joining us. 11:07, I attended the Lions Club 29th Annual Barbecue Cook-Off at the Rec Complex. They had their anything but barbecue on Friday night. Outstanding food served. Councilman Dennis and Councilman Ware was also present. 11:08, I participated in the Shriners Homecoming Parade and brought out the Mayor Mobile. We had a wonderful time, and I want to give special thanks to the Moncks Corner Police Department for securing Main Street and for the Moncks Corner Fire Department for joining the festivities. 11:08, I spoke at the barbecue festival before the winners were announced. I had a chance to sample the entrees after the judging, and the one word I have for that is wow. The quality of the food that they cooked was just amazing. I also want to thank Matt Fluharty, his dad, and their barbecue team for sending several whole Boston butts back to the fire department with them. 11:11, I was the guest speaker at the VFW American Legion's Veterans Day program. After the ceremony, they invited everyone back to the VFW to share a meal. I want to thank Councilman Dennis and Councilman Sweatman for attending this event. 11:12, I attended the Recreation Coaches Appreciation Banquet hosted by our recreation staff. We cannot have successful programs without volunteers that show up night after night with these kids. And I want to thank all the local businesses who donated. I think we had about 50 donations from local businesses to give out to the coaches, so that was awesome. Councilman Dennis, Councilman Law, and Councilman Ware was in attendance to that. 11:15, I attended the Pickin' in the Park event. This event gets better every year. I want to thank the great work that our staff, and this is all of our staff, our police, our fire, our public safety, I mean, everything. It's crazy, the amount of work that goes into shutting down Main Street. 11:15, we hosted the Recreation All-Star Tournament for soccer in town. I was able to go watch a little bit of play, gave them a pep talk. They come in second place. Great season. 11:16, had a special request from a mom whose daughter goes to Berkeley High in the unified class. She was having a birthday, and usually Sundays I try not to schedule too much, but usually if it's something to do with a child, I'll try to bend my schedule. But Staggy come out, we had a really great time, so thank them for that. And finally, 11:22, I want to thank Keith Bump from Mule Creek Farms, one of our farmers market vendors, who graciously offered to grill over 60 hamburgers for our town employees. These are the kind of special relationships that are being forged in the town of Moncks Corner. That concludes my report, Administrator Lord.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council. I'd like to start off with a few introductions. Chief Dixon?
Mayor, Town Council, I'd like to introduce you to Officer Timothy Duggar and Officer Vernon Monroe. Officer Duggar joins us as a new law enforcement officer who recently graduated from the Criminal Justice Academy. So Officer Duggar comes to us with a couple of distinctions while attending the City of Charleston, the Charleston City Police Department Pre-Academy. As you know, we partner with them to a 12-week program to send all of our newly hired officers through their program before going to the academy. Officer Duggar took the Top Shooter Award in that class. He then went on to the academy with some of those folks, joined his class up there, and upon graduating the Criminal Justice Academy, he also took the Top Shooter Award at the Criminal Justice Academy. There's rumor going around that his red dot may have had something to do with that, but he says he didn't use it, but we don't know. So Officer Duggar comes to us with a background in computer and ITs. He's married and has 3 children. So Officer Timothy Duggar.
Welcome.
I'm kidding about the red dot. He actually shot iron sights with everybody else. Officer Vernon Monroe. Again, joins us as a new law enforcement officer who recently graduated the Criminal Justice Academy. Officer Monroe is working on his degree through Trident College in business management, and he comes to us with a background in security. So, Officer Monroe.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, the only other thing I've got for you, if council remembers, we commissioned a traffic study or parking study for downtown. The memo for that is at your station. The focus of the study was twofold. One of them was to look at the yellow marked out areas, the no parking areas, to make sure what we had was appropriate. Make sure we didn't have things yelled out that didn't need to be yelled out, that were restricting parking we didn't need to restrict, but also making sure that we were keeping the driveways safe and the entrances safe by having the right width. So the firm Stantec was engaged, and they used the DOT manual, because this is a DOT road, Arms manual, to lay out exactly what is currently yellow, what needs to be yellow, what doesn't need to be yellow but currently is. And so that was the first stage, and this is going on Main Street from 17A to 52. The second part of this study was to look at parking spaces, because council wanted to look at designated or marked parking for downtown. And one of the concerns is that if you've got marked parking spaces, you can actually reduce the number of parking spaces. If it's just wide open, you can park anywhere in the yellow, then people can park closer to each other just out of habit, and you can probably fit more vehicles in. So for us to be able to mark spaces on Main Street, we would have to get an encroachment permit from DOT, which will require a study to determine where they can go. So we have a study which tells us where they can go. And the memo in front of you outlines the results of that study. So basically what they've come up with is currently they figure, and this is only from the railroad tracks to Newell Street. We didn't look at the entire Main Street, just that central area of Main Street. And in that central area, they found that as it would be marked with the new updated yellow marking, you would be able to get 44 vehicles probably in that area. If you were to go in and mark them, and I'll show you the drawings here in a second, with where it could be marked per DOT standards, that number is going to be reduced to 39. Now, with the downtown project, the redevelopment project, we would then add back 2. So the end result would be going from 44 to 41, but until the redevelopment project, you'd be losing those additional 2 spaces. So just real quick, so it starts, I won't go through every piece here, but it starts on 17A. The yellow line indicates it's currently marked yellow. If it's a red line, it means it should be marked yellow. And if it's a yellow dashed line, it means it's yellow now, but it doesn't need to be. So as you can see, we go through all the way down Main Street. Now, there are, I believe, 4 current curb cuts which could be removed. A great example would be if you look at what the school district did right here with the parking lot. There's an old curb cut that goes, if you were driving it, you would drive down there landscaping. So it doesn't need to be there. And so that would be restricted parking that doesn't need to be restricted. So that would be something on those 4 curb cuts, which could be looked at to remove the curb cut, put back a normal raised curb, and then it would open up some on-street parking. But again, it just goes down the road and shows where the marking can be for the yellow. And it goes just all the way down Main Street, all the way to Highway 52. That's the first part. So with this, we can now go out and mark the curbs. We've maintained the painting on the curb. This is something that we can do. We do not need an encroachment permit to do that. However, if we want to do parking spaces, that's the second one. And you can see they've got marked on here where parking spaces could be marked. Now they're showing this as, the rectangles, but I would presume it could be just the corner markers you'll see a lot with on-street parking, where it'll be just like an L or a triangle marking the corners of it, not a whole box painted. But the whole box is easier for you to see here. But as you can see, they identified where these parking spaces could go per DOT Arms Manual standards. This is right next to the railroad tracks, and as you can see, maybe a little bit hard to make out, but there's an inset on the top part, and that would show the parking spaces after the downtown redevelopment project is completed. So the big sheet shows you current conditions, and then the inset will show you how you're going to get those extra 2 parking spaces after that goes in. So the next step for us for this would be to proceed for the encroachment permit. This is what council wanted to do. And of course, then we would look at the cost of implementing it. Because you would want some plastic painting on these spaces, and you're going to need traffic control, this is not going to be an insignificant cost. Traffic control on a main street in order to do this is probably going to be a good bit, but we would start that process if that was what council was interested in. So providing this report for you to look at, and then y'all can review it, and then just let me know what your intent is.
Could we do overnight work instead of disrupting the daytime traffic?
Right, that, of course, that would increase your cost.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. Jeff, how quickly would a project like this start and complete?
I don't know the answer to that. I mean, obviously, we would need to get the encroachment permit from DOT first.
But are we talking about Main Street being a day, 2 days, 2 weeks?
well, like once it starts, I would imagine it would be a week.
At most, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been I'll tell you, as these guys up here know, this has been something that's been a big push for me. The speed down Main Street, I think this would highly benefit the traffic, the people that are just driving a little too fast down that area. I think this would be a huge benefit for that. Also, I would kind of argue as somebody that has a business on Main Street, cars parking too far apart, they're not leaving enough space between them. So I think you probably would end up with more parking ultimately. I could make that argument, but I think this is a great thing. I think it's going to really define our downtown area, having this. So whatever you need from me, let me know. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I may. How are we going to enforce this?
I mean, it would be just like any other parking enforcement. I mean, right now, if we have somebody parked yellow on curb, we can go down there and tell them they have to move, or if they're, if they're improperly parked.
And I'm saying that because that's going to be a big change up here, and I totally agree with Councilman Law. But I don't know if anyone has ever gotten a parking ticket in Moncks Corner before. I don't think that's ever been a case. Not that it's not needed, because people park and they park in an area where it's almost impossible to see around them to pull out into traffic and things of that nature, and you park where is the most convenient. But I'm just wondering how we're going to enforce this. Are we going to have officers that are essentially meter maids at that point?
Mr.
walking
Sweatman,
down ticketing?
Councilman Sweatman, if I may, I just want to address this because I hear where you're coming from. My thought on this is it's going to express where you can park for people. Right now, we have nothing there, and I think they're just kind of unsure. I've heard from people, they're not even sure if they can park on Main Street because there's no parking there. I think it would highlight the yellow areas better and where they should be parking and where they could be parking to make that area much safer than it is right now. I don't know that once we have that out there and that defined space and area, my thought is, I don't know that we're going to have that problem. I think when people see delineated parking spaces, I think they'll know that's where they need to park. That's just my thought.
No, but I mean, right in front of Howard's, in front of the old South State Bank, there's already paint there and people parking it every morning.
Right.
Where you pull in to go to him church.
I think what started,
Oh, no, but I'm just saying, I think we have to be prepared if we're going to do this, which I'm in favor of. We're gonna have to have some level of enforcement, and whether it be a ticket the first time and then towing the second time, I don't know, but There will be violators. I'm just warning you.
I mean, right now, you do have a situation where people can park illegally, because we have the yellow curbs out there and they can park on them, and they do from time to time. Our practice has been engage them, ask them to move. So far, that's worked.
I was going to say, you know, what's kind of got this is when you come out of behind the Anchor Barber Shop, if someone's parked in the yellow, you can't see. So you have to pull halfway in a lane to get out. And when Change Life Ministries, they opened up a beauty shop across the street. So they started parking on the other side. So when you come out the back of Change Life Ministries, you just can't see. It's creating hazards. I have called Chief Mixon and Captain Richardson about people parking in front of fire hydrants, about people parking on these corners because it's dangerous. And I agree with Councilman Law. I think once it's defined, that gives us even a better chance of addressing it through, I say warnings. I would not go straight to tickets, of course, but to educate people that this is the way we're going to do it and this is how we're going to enforce it. So I think overall it's a great project and something I'd like to see done as well. So thank you.
All right, that concludes my report. If council has any other questions, I'll be happy to address
I
them.
got one thing I want to address. I wanted to do it while council's up here. The pastor of the AME church, he's a newer pastor, and we had a conversation about where we have Martin Luther King Boulevard, the little cut through by Hoover. He says it's almost an insult, that road being named after him. I'd like the town to kind of look at some options to bring before council to see if we can find a road that is a little more dignified for that.
I have two questions for you, if you don't mind. First question is, was it an oversight on our part that we did not invite BZA or Planning Commission veterans to the luncheon?
No, sir. Traditionally, we've invited employees and council members.
So they were invited or they were not invited?
They were not invited.
Maybe we need to look at that and, I mean, they serve in the town, right? Maybe we should look at that and maybe invite them. Second question, this council approves budgets every year, correct?
Yeah.
And in that budget is officials. I think that we, as a council, need to look at refunding the parents of the 6U soccer program equivalent up to $1,400 since we neglected to put a official out there for their games. I counted it up, it was like 54 games throughout at $25, so that's $1,400. I think we should look at maybe refunding them some money and in the future look at putting an official out there. That's the only program that did not have an official in all the sports that we offer. And those people pay the same amount of money as everybody else in the program. Now, other council members may not agree with that, but that's my stand on it.
I do not agree with that, and that's because other municipalities, for 4 to 6 years, most of these teams have multiple coaches. At 4 to 6 years old, you want to be teaching, right? It's about fundamentals. It's not about calling scores and all that at 4 to 6 years old. You want them to be out on the field and saying, hey, you don't do a handball, you don't do this, this is the way to do it. So the 4 to 6 year olds, to me, is more of a learning time, and then as they move up, of course, they'll have the officials, but other municipalities do not have officials for that age.
But we don't have to do what other municipalities do. And they had the officials there last year. And now you put the coaches out there telling them to officiate, and they can't coach their kids because they're officiating, they don't want to be biased. And I've been out there for 4 weeks watching this program. And then you're saying 4 to 6, well, we pay a guy or a woman, whatever, $25 a game for T-ball, and that's the same age group. So I'm kind of confused why we didn't.
I'd like to, could I ask a quick question? What is the feedback on this? I haven't heard about this. I know this topic, right? I'm well-versed in this topic, but I haven't heard from any individual parents. What have we heard on the town side? Has there been an issue with this, or what have we heard from parents on this? I think that's who's most important are the parents that have these kids out there.
I can address that. I was out there, I met with the parents on different teams, I met with coaches from different teams, all within that same age group. And I asked the coaches, did they know this, that they were gonna be officiating when they signed up to be a coach? They all said, no, we signed up to coach, not to officiate. And we had a little problem out there with one team whose coach was gonna be the official. And according to the rules, officials are supposed to check for safety violations that every child has leg guards. And one team just said, we don't do that, and moved on. And then talking with the parents, they were not informed when they signed their kids up that they were not going to have officials and that their coaches had to do it.
I think our rec team right now is at the Santee Cooper kickoff for the lights. I think this is something we just need to get with Libba and Zach and Kai and get their feedback on this as well.
We've already got their
But,
feedback. They refused to do it.
At the end of the day, this is a decision that come to me, and I made it as mayor, so, okay.
I wanted to hear.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right, new business. Consideration, staff recommended consulting for awarded safe streets and roads for all SS4A grant programs. Community Director Westbrook.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, Council. Recently, staff applied for and was awarded a $240,000 grant for Safe Streets for All, which is a U.S. DOT program focused on a net zero fatality and serious injury rate. What it does is there's two phases to this. The first phase is a town or municipality applies for this grant and is awarded up to $300,000. It's a 80-20 split. Obviously, we were awarded that. And what that does is that allows us to create an action plan. Once we have that action plan, which studies our throughways, our major highways, and our major roadways, such as Main Street, for example, 17A, 52, as well as the whole town. Once we identify problematic areas, we can start working on potential solutions. And then from that action plan, we can have a list of projects to start tackling. Now, obviously, the biggest part why I say phase one versus phase two is SS4A or US DOT has a second phase, which is a implementation grant, or I'm sorry, an implementation grant, where basically, should you have the action place in place, which we're going to do, then you can go get funding and seek grants for the actual implementation. So for example, 3 towns in the state of South Carolina won the implementation aspect of it of about around $30 million average. Of the rest of the award winners were 17 who got the demonstration grant, which is what we won. So this is for a request to start working with a consultant. We did a request for qualifications on various websites and social media platforms. I've met and talked to at least 4 engineering firms that applied, or the 4 engineering firms that applied. I sought others. And after interviewing them and reading their literature that they sent about their capacities and the other things in the RFQ, we selected one, and that's what's in front of you tonight. So we'd like permission to start working with that engineering firm to start on this action plan so we can get going on phase 2 and do some studying on the town's intersections and roadways to make it safer for pedestrian and motorists.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? First reading. Consider an annexation AN-25-03 request for one parcel PMS 142-10-01-079 totaling under 0.93 acres addressed as 525 South Live Oak to be annexed into the town corporate limits, seeking be zoned office and institutional C1. Justin?
Yes, sir. As you mentioned, this is a small request of a little under an acre. The property on South Live Oak, south of the assisted care facility, is currently zoned general commercial in Berkeley County. Serves retail and services for the surrounding community. This is the property in question. You can see South Live Oak or 17A there on the screen from the southwest to the north center part of the screen with the assisted facility right north of that. This is the county, the zoning maps. The translucent areas are in the county. Obviously, you see the hatched in or the opaque areas in the town already, so it is adjacent to our C1 zoning district, which is the Seeks. C1 is a service establishment to include anything from a nail salon all the way up to a small auto body store or a shop. Car repair, I believe the applicant is looking at those type of tenants and clients. TIA is not required for that. We will look at that depending on the use that comes in. Obviously, that needs to be a little more site-specific, as well as environmental concerns. Our 2024 comp plan has identified this area as mixed-use residential. However, that same comp plan, and you can see the hatched area there, right there on the screen for a growth area, but the same comp plan also identifies this as a mixed-use highway overlay, which is 250 foot on either side of 17A, not unlike the one on 52, that allows for commercial areas to include professional and medical offices, salons, and streets, very in line with what C1 offers. So at this stage of the game right now, it does conflict slightly with one aspect of the future land use map, it does coincide with another aspect of future land use map, and of the 10 goals and implementations it is in harmony with one of those, which is providing more economic opportunities for the town by increasing our C1 zoning district. Our concerns, as I mentioned, not consistent with town character residential, but it is compliant with mixed use overlay. It's compatible with a goal and implementation strategy of the comp plan, and it does extend the natural 17A commercial corridor to the south, extending our corporate limits further. At this point, staff recommends approval. Planning Commission heard it October 28th, where they also recommended approval unanimously, and this is the first reading with the second reading coming December 16th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The next item, number 8, is deferred until December. Old business, second reading and public hearing, a master bond ordinance of the town of Moncks Corner, South Carolina, providing for the issuance and sale of stormwater system revenue bonds and other matters relating thereto. Mr. Pope?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of council, I'm Gary Pope with Pope Flynn, acting as bond counsel to the town. And what I'm going to do is just give a brief overview of sort of what the proposal is, and be glad to take any questions after that you may have. And if at any point I'm boring you or I'm being at too high a level, you just tell me, and I'll move right along, but I only got about 10 to 12 slides. So as a reminder, the town has essentially two types of debt that it can issue, but the main thing is that it can't just go to a bank and sign a note. You have to do it under a very specific statutory authorization, and state constitution has to be observed in each of the cases. You have the ability to issue tax-backed debt. You have the ability to issue debt repayable from a special source, which can't involve a tax. And then you have tax increment financing bonds, which are sort of a third separate category. All the debt has to be issued pursuant to a general law. It has to be a public purpose and also a corporate purpose. People sometimes ask, well, what on earth is a corporate purpose that's not a public purpose? Well, it would clearly be a public purpose for y'all to fund a militia, but that's not a corporate purpose of the town. So that's an example of where that wouldn't quite fit. But a stormwater revenue bond is clearly within the corporate purposes of the town. Revenue bonds, the way they work under our Constitution is we pledge the revenues of a system. There's a variety of different systems that are recognized in statute. Tonight we're talking about a stormwater system. Those revenues are pledged to pay back the bonds, and lenders are looking for a consistent stream of revenues in the form of fees to be paid. There is no amount, no limit, there's no legal debt limit. General obligation bonds are sort of a precious resource. There's a very limited amount of those that the town can issue. Those get the best interest rate. You get those on the best terms. They don't really include any covenants. And because of that, people tend to make sure that they keep a good capacity there. For revenue bonds, there is not a legal debt limit. It's just dictated by the terms of the market. So what will the market bear? And there are things that, you know, people like me are supposed to know that what the market will bear in terms of covenants and things that you have to agree to in terms of debt service coverage and an agreement to impose certain fees and so forth. So our proposed stormwater bond ordinance, this is under what I would say is the most typical statute for use here. It's what a lot of people use for water and sewer bonds, stormwater bonds, and so forth. It's the Revenue Bond Act for utilities. A bond ordinance, you may ask, why do we have two ordinances? Well, we have one ordinance that sets the table and sort of says the rules of the game whenever y'all borrow money based on a stormwater revenue in the future. And that is to avoid, if you went to if you sold a bond to a bank and it was highly negotiated, it may have a lot of terms. One of those terms might be, you got to come back and ask us for permission to ever issue bonds in the future. We want to avoid that. We want to set the rules at the beginning and say, if we comply with these terms and conditions, we don't have to come back and ask this bank for permission in the future. So the bond ordinance does that. It has all the rules and conditions that y'all will comply with, that the town will comply with. And it also has, very importantly, the rules and conditions that allow for you to issue bonds in the future. It defines the purposes and has a fair amount of detail around that. That's the basic idea, is you're trying to set the table for how y'all are gonna go about doing things, so you don't have to ask people for permission in the future. It also gives the lenders a good confidence in the town about how it's going to handle these revenues so that you can access it on as good a terms as you can. The key provisions, testing my eyes here, is it pledges the stormwater fees. We have the additional bonds test I just mentioned. There's a rate covenant. We actually have reduced the rate covenant, I think, down to a 110 in the final analysis. And it creates various funds and accounts that provide for how the funds will be administered. It does not provide for a pledge of the tax base of the town. This is just going to be limited specifically to the fees. And it does give the town the ability, if it needs to pay expenses of the stormwater system from other sources if the fees aren't quite as robust as you would hope that they would be. And it allows, limits the purposes that you can't just go spend the proceeds on anything you want. It's got to be on stormwater infrastructure. So the second ordinance, which I know is not this item, but I'll just cover it now. So you have the bond ordinance, then you have a series ordinance. Series ordinance says, okay, we're going to borrow exactly this much money for exactly these purposes, and we're going to comply with all the terms that are in the bond ordinance. And so if I come back in a couple of years and y'all want to do another stormwater project, we would just have the series ordinance. We wouldn't have the bond ordinance because the bond ordinance is already done. And it just says, hey, we're going to comply with all these terms in the bond ordinance. Again, limited amount of money, limited amount of time, limited projects that it can be spent on. So that's what that document does. And that sort of describes the purposes. That's in the agenda packet and sort of runs through all of these various projects. We anticipate issuing this bond on a tax-exempt basis. Y'all have the privilege of doing that as a local government that's issuing the bonds for a public purpose. And we don't anticipate any private use of it, so you can access the tax-exempt market, which will give you about a 20-30% discount on your interest rate from otherwise. And it delegates to the mayor and the town administrator the ability to sort of figure out the details of the bond. We have these, so this is what it's going to. So it's $2.5 million approximately as a match for an NRCS grant for California branch improvements, $470,000 for the purchase of an excavator, $130,000 as a match to a $1.6 million RIA and CTC grant for Winter Street, $680,000 for a match towards other planned improvements on Main Street, Elijah Lane, Coaxum Road, and Haynesville Extension. And then our timeline is we have sent out an RFP to the banks. If y'all don't approve this tonight, then we will just cancel the RFP. But in order to sort of stay on a good schedule, and the banks all know this, we have anticipate getting the bids in on Thursday of this week. And if y'all approve the ordinance tonight and the bank bids look good on Thursday, then we would proceed to a closing and I would have money on December 11th. And that's it. But I'd be glad to answer any questions you had or.
Mr. Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
I want to be clear on something. You talked about going this route with the bond. And if I heard you correctly, once we go this route, it frees us up to issue bonds in the future, so and so. Is this bond going to have a finite end to it?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so
Oh, yeah,
we
this
are
is-
going to be
yes.
over a
This
10-year
is-
period.
Yeah,
So
this
once-
this is not like a federal government borrowing or anything like this. This is a defined, this is like a house loan, but we're gonna have we anticipate a 10-year term. That is what we're looking for. That's what we asked the banks for. It will be fully amortizing. It will be essentially, I think, level debt service is what we're looking for. And so a level debt service, fully amortizing on the 10th payment you make in year 10, gone.
And I just want to be clear, so by council approving this, which I'm 100% behind this project, it's gone on too long and it needs to be addressed. We aren't opening the door for another bond to be issued without coming before
Oh,
council,
no,
mayor,
no,
or
it's,
anything like that.
you absolutely have to take another ordinance.
Okay. Next question is, and I presented this to you, Jeff, I want to hear it too. Is there an advantage to segregating this as a fee versus putting it in the millage rate? Or, well, explain to me.
So I can just tell you, so lots of my clients do these. I mean, City of Beaufort, City of Aiken, Charleston, Columbia, Charleston, Columbia are not my clients, but they do them. Myrtle Beach does them, they're a client firm. And I think the idea is that you want to have, there are limited places in South Carolina law that anticipate fees for certain things. Stormwater is absolutely one of those where fees are anticipated for stormwater. There are state statutes around it, there are regulations around it that the state promulgates. And most of my clients think that you want to match those fee payments up with a self-liquidating investment from that debt type, from that stormwater revenue bond. It'd be very difficult, like the type of bond we did for the rec center for like the installment purchase revenue bonds, well, there's no collateral there, so that's a terrible sort of mechanism to try to do a stormwater bond with. You have general obligation bond, well, your debt limit's about, call it $8 million thereabouts. Y'all have about $700,000 outstanding, so this would be more than half of your legal debt limit. I was saying earlier, you have a precious amount of tax-backed debt that you can do. Most people want to keep that for emergencies and want to keep that for perhaps a bridge loan for like something really important or like an absolutely essential core government service like a public safety facility or something along those lines. But I will just say in my experience, it is very common for local South Carolina governments to have stormwater fees that they use revenue bonds payable from that enterprise fund. It's a self-liquidating, sort of self-contained system to pay for those improvements that are benefited by those fees and payable by the people who benefit from the fees.
And the reason I ask that is, even though this project is going for the better good of Moncks Corner and solving a problem that has long been had here, we got aggressive with it as a council. And I hold my feet to the fire on that and I'll stand by it. But it has impacted some nonprofits and churches in a way that we did not fully comprehend. Have you seen in your past experiences where there have been exceptions to churches and nonprofits? Or has it just been a blanket fee for everyone?
It is typically a blanket fee, and that issue is prevalent in other municipalities.
Okay. No, you've answered my questions. Thank you.
Anybody else? Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this? All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Second reading and public hearing, a series ordinance of the town of Moncks Corner, South Carolina, providing for the issuance and sale of stormwater system revenue bonds in the principal amount not exceeding $3,750,000 and providing for the other matters relating thereto. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second, we have
any
public.
discussion?
Just did public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anyone from the public would like to speak on this? All right. Let me go back through the motion. Give me a motion again.
So moved.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right. Second reading and public hearing. Consider an annexation, AN-25-02, request for two parcels, TMS 162-00-02-021 and 075, totaling a little under 6.81 acres, addressed as 1288 Old Highway 52, to be annexed in the town's corporate limits, seeking to be zoned office and institutional C1.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to recuse myself from this vote.
Thank you. Justin?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. As you mentioned, these are two parcels. Address is 1288 Old Highway 52. The county has them currently zoned R1, single-family residential, rural village areas, existing character of rural villages. The parcels in question are the 021 and 075, highlighted in the blue. You can see Old 52 to the left. The development across the street is Abbey Walk, and then there's obviously residential all up and down. There are a handful of spattering of commercial uses along this, but you can see the big lots is not on the screen, but is, I think, half a mile to the north, and then obviously everything to the south is largely residential, if not entirely residential. You see a lot of the purple in there. That is planned development residential. You have an R1 right to the north of that, which is off Dove Hill. You have Jippy Plantation, and then it starts to go to R2 in the top right corner of your screen, which is First St. John's. You do have, as I mentioned, the spattering of small 002 being that parcel there, being that commercial. I believe that's getting ready to be a building warehouse type thing of building materials. But everything south of that to Cypress Garden Road is residential. They are seeking office institutional straight C1 zoning, which is general light commercial uses, professional offices and the like, including boutique retail and small restaurants. The comp plan does show this as town character residential, which is enhances smaller lots, mixed residential type neighborhoods. Obviously you can see that in the hatched yellow area. Everything in the yellow is in town. Solid yellow, everything hatched is our growth area. You can see some of that is employment down to the south, which is those commercial areas, the 002 and the 031, but everything else out there is residential as well. It is in harmony with one of the goals, which is economic opportunities, again, by and specifically for retention of businesses is the key to this one. Staff is concerns. It is not consistent with town character or residential. It's only compatible with one goal. It is one, you're never gonna get all 10. But those two together give staff the appropriate amount of data points to recommend denial at this stage. Planning Commission heard the request in September, recommended approval for 2, and this is the second reading. I know that I'm available for any questions should you have any, and I do know that the public is here as well.
Have you had feedback from residents on this project?
Yes, sir, quite a bit.
And can you put a gas station on that if they sold it down the road? Or that would have to come before us?
It would not come before y'all. I'd have to double check on that specific use, but C1 is intended for light office and light retail types uses. So I don't know about a gas station, but small restaurants, for example. Think of most of North Live Oak between Main Street all the way to the railroad tracks, all of the Rustic Muffin, offices, law offices, boutique retail, I believe, under 2,000 square feet. And restaurants. I don't know about fast food. I think that's prohibited, but smaller type commercial areas. Yes, sir.
Anyone else? All right, is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on that? Go ahead, please come up and state your name and address for the, yes, ma'am. And if there's others, just come in and stand behind them. Give me your name and address.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilman. My name is Jody Bright. I live at 1150 Old Highway 52. I know Mr. Westbrook has gone over a couple of the points, but the bottom line up front is not only does this not align to the comp plan, it's not really good for commercial use, and it'll open the door for a commercial corridor on Old 52, and we do not want to see Old 52 realigned to 52. As people who are going to be closely adjacent to those parcels that are also up, you open the door for one commercial area, that means the one directly across from us suddenly can be rezoned to a commercial area. This is a rural residential area, mostly from Jippy Plantation all the way to Cypress Gardens. We're not opposed to development. But what we would like to see is it remain residential, which aligns to the comp plan. I don't have to read what some of those things were, but the plan, when adopted, called for this land use to be designated with the following overarching goal: maintain a family-oriented, small-town feel with a high quality of life that appeals to current residents and future residents. The rezoning residential parcels to commercial area actually kind of contradict and are in direct contrast with this future land use map. The plan defines town character residential as just that, residential. And it only aligns to the one goal, which is enhancing economic opportunity. The current applicant is not the property owner or the potential property owner. Once rezoned, the eventual owner can rent the space out or to another tenant for any use type. There's no legal guarantee to protect from any office and institutional C1 use. Everybody else speaking today have their own reasons for supporting or opposing the change from what is already zoned residential to C1 commercial. This change is personal. For us, years ago, we decided we'd retire from the military to the place we met and were stationed here in the military in Charleston. We deliberately chose to permanently settle in Moncks Corner, knowing it would be further from my husband's treatment for terminal brain cancer at MUSC and VA because of the smaller community feel. We specifically chose our property because of the rural feel of Old Highway 52. We do not have the choice to relocate if this rural residential area is decided to become a commercially zoned area and a commercial corridor. We don't have the luxury of choosing another home that fits our growing medical needs, specific requirements, and space needs, but there is a choice for other properties already zoned commercial. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, your name and address, please.
Hi, yes. Good evening. My name is Judy Asbury. I live at 234 Dove Hill Road, adjacent to the lots in question. Our home is outside the town limits in Zone County, and we chose that specifically for the rural privacy and separation from commercial growth that comes with that. We chose our home very intentionally. We invested everything we had into securing acreage, privacy, and a quiet rural residential environment, something that has become increasingly rare as Moncks Corner continues to grow and develop commercially. We want to distance from that growth, and this property offered as much separation as you can reasonably find in a fast-growing part of the state. This is our forever home. Every improvement we've made and every dollar we've spent has been based on the understanding that the surrounding area would remain residential, larger lots, space between neighbors, and a peaceful setting uninterrupted by businesses or the fast pace that comes along with them. Our concern is not with the specific business or the idea being discussed, it is with the zoning request itself. What is being proposed is a permanent change to commercial zoning, and once that zoning is approved, it no longer matters who the applicant is today or what they intend to do with it. It opens the door to any commercial use allowed under that category at any time in the future. That long-term uncertainty uncertainty alone puts our home, our investment, and the quality of our life at risk. We're deeply concerned about the domino effect. If this parcel becomes commercial, it becomes much easier for the next property to request the same, and then the next. This stretch of Old 52 could quickly shift away from the rural residential living and towards commercial saturation. Once that shift begins, it cannot be undone. A commercial site beside rural homes changes everything. More traffic, more lighting, more noise, more activity, and far less privacy. We paid a premium for acreage and separation, and those qualities disappear the moment a business moves in next door, regardless of what that business is. There's also a direct and permanent impact on our property value. People who buy homes like ours specifically seek out areas free from commercial encroachment. A business next door makes our home worth less, and that is a burden we should not be asked to carry because someone else's rezoning request. There are numerous locations in Moncks Corner already rezoned commercial and far more suitable for business use. This location is not one of them. To be clear, we are not at all opposed to the growth or development of this area. We understand that something will eventually be built on that property, but development should fit the area it enters, and this area has always been residential on large lots. Commercial zoning simply does not match the character of the families who live here or the rural environment we have invested in. For all these reasons, we respectfully ask that you deny the rezoning request and help preserve the rural character, property values, and quality of life for families who already call this part of Old 52 home. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Steve Ammons. I live on 1300 off Highway 52, directly across the street from Berkeley Citizens. The last one on the right-hand side in pink. Again, my concern is like everybody else's. I have the same things to say. I could just say ditto to it all, but I was gonna speak from my heart. My father bought this place about 11 years ago. He moved down from Washington State. And when he moved down, he stayed at a campground out in Pineville for about a year, looking for the perfect house. He said, son, I want to buy the house that's good for, this puts you in the middle of my great grandkids, in the middle of your grandkids. My daughter lives at Pinopolis with her husband and two of my grandkids. My son lives in Spring Grove with two more of my grandkids and his wife. So he picked a place that was right between them, a place that was not in the subdivision, place that was more like the area we lived out in Pineville, surrounded by nature. Now, I actually have some handouts. Would y'all mind?
Please approach.
Just like to, basically just photos of my property. And you can see how this house was designed, basically, to enjoy nature. And the first picture is my driveway, Berkeley Citizens right across the street. Not sure what's gonna happen to this building, if this gets approved, whether they're gonna move into the one across the street, whether it's all gonna be one big building or not, I have no idea. But again, if you look at the second picture, the first time this place came up for rezoning about a year ago, you can see the big oak tree on the left-hand side, they put a ribbon around it. Now, that was my first biggest concerns, because that oak tree has been there for many, many hundred years, I'm sure, and it sits right on the property line. So I don't know what would happen to that tree if it was rezoned for commercial or anything like that. So it's always been a big concern. But if you can look on the bottom picture, that looks out at the property in question. And again, go to the next page, that's a picture of my kitchen. All the windows on the side of that house and dining room look out to this property. We wake up weekly seeing deer, turkeys, wildlife, and all this is in jeopardy. You know, when they wipe out all those woods, you know what's that gonna do to the quality of my life? The quality of my property? How much of my property value is gonna go down? I have no idea. But I have people all the time saying, you ever get ready to sell that house, I'll buy it. I haven't had a phone call like that in about a year. There's too much question about what's going to happen to it. My wife is very upset. And we went through this last year, and we're going through it again this year. And again, I've been working on this place, remodeling it, for 2 years after my father passed away. Because my family took care of him for 10 years. I am having to buy my brother out to keep the property. So I do have an investment in it, and I put several $1,000s in the last 2 years, one project after the other, to make this a central location for my kids, surrounded by my father and my mother's memories. So yes, it's important to me. Berkeley Citizens is it's a good corporation. I don't doubt that, but like they said, there's plenty of good places they can go. It doesn't have to be here. Thank you very much.
Anyone else from citizens comment? I'm gonna make a comment on this as well, because I was the only no vote at our last council meeting on this, and I hope that we look at the people that come here to speak tonight. My biggest concerns is, and I understand, you know, something will be built, those woods will come down eventually, we understand that. But my biggest issues are, number one, we just did our comp plan last year, and now we're trying to change it a year later. That don't make any sense to me. And the second thing is this property's in Berkeley County. And my understanding is Berkeley County is not gonna let them do it. So now they want to run to Moncks Corner thinking that we're going to let them do it. You know, I agree, Berkeley Citizens is a great organization. I've been there, I've toured the facility. They do great work. I just feel like that this is not the place for this, and that's kind of where I am at this, so. If there's,
Can I ask a question?
yes.
Mr. Westbrook, and that piece of property, those two pieces of property is zoned R1? Is that what you said with the county?
Yes, sir.
How many homes could they go in there and build?
I'm not sure, sir.
6-point-something acres.
I'm not sure.
Could they build townhomes?
I'm not sure. I don't believe so, but I'm not well vested in Berkeley County zoning ordinance, so I'm unaware of exactly what they could do. I do know that R1 is their smaller, like ours is one of their less dense zoning
dense,
districts.
yeah.
So more than likely, probably not townhomes, but I don't know that for a fact.
That was gonna be my question, was what is it currently zoned, because unfortunately, those woods probably will come down one day, for whatever reason. It's unfortunate, but, I mean, we have so much PDR up and down that road now, and lo and behold, if Jiffy ever sold, which we had that before us years ago, Do we know what's trying to go there specifically, or is this just simply a rezoning? I can't recall from the first.
There you go.
Hi.
I'm Holly Fry. I'm the CEO of Unity Bay Berkeley Citizens. We are actually right across the street, and we right now have our workshop at 132 Citizens Lane. It is sandwiched between Shannonwood and Big Lots. It is an old sewing warehouse. We have been there 30 years. We've made the best of it, but our people deserve a better location. We have limited funds, and we can afford this land. It's right across the street from our current location. We have to have commercial due to our licensing. Right now, across the street, it's not commercial, it's mixed use, and we've been there longer than most of these residential homes as it is. What we're trying to build is a workshop for our individuals to come and work at daily. We're at like 9 to 2. That's generally the hours our folks come in and work. We basically provide a sheltered workshop for intellectually and developmentally disabled. We are planning to just have maybe one large building for the workshop and one administration building. We are going to keep as much buffer as possible around, so you see trees rather than buildings and parking lots, but we are gonna have to have those things. You know, we've been looking for land for 2 or 3 years, and while I understand that commercial is out there, it's not always affordable for places like us, nonprofits that don't have the means to buy millions of dollars worth of land that's zoned commercial. But it is not our intent to be a bad neighbor or to do something that the neighbors don't want. We want to be a good neighbor. I don't see us being a nuisance in any way, shape, or form to anyone. I actually feel like we'll probably be quieter than any subdivision or any development that would go in there. And again, we would keep as much buffer as possible because our folks want the nature and the peace. And we have planned or are planning nature trails and outdoor spaces for our folks to enjoy when they come to the sheltered workshop every day.
Couple of questions for you. Number one, why didn't you try to do this through the county? Is the existing building across the street staying there and open, and what's going behind the Big Lots shopping center? Will you leave that completely?
We will leave that completely. We will sell that eventually. We did not go with the county because there is a 13-month wait right now, is what I'm being told. And also, we are in the town now across the street, so we just wanted to, we have a great relationship with the town. We've not had any issues with the town, and we wanted to have the same relationship with the town.
Okay,
Any other questions?
thank you. All right. Oh, yeah, come on up. Just give me your name and address and put you on the clock.
Justin, is this a picture or is this?
Michael Asbury.
Is this a picture or a GIS website?
This is GIS.
It's
Okay.
a
Oh, no,
picture from
I
GIS.
apologize.
It's a picture from GIS?
Yes, sir.
No, my question was, what else along that corridor is already zoned commercial by the county?
By the county, there's, like I said in my report, there's a spattering of some things. 012 appears to be a junkyard, 006 is some commercial. You're talking about slightly south of that C2,
That's correct.
that's about it, until you get to Cypress Garden Road. After that, you get to the golf course, you bounce up against the railroad tracks, which on the other side of that is the Carolina Groves. It's residential beyond that.
Okay, please.
Yes,
My name's Michael Asbury. I reside at 234 Dove Hill. My wife spoke earlier. I don't want to necessarily speak for everyone in that area, but I probably can. We love the idea of that potential as a neighbor. The problem is that the citizens is not the applicant. So once this gets rezoned for commercial, that's it. There is no way for us to know for sure that that is what is going to go on the property, that the design that, that she can speak to would be able to be, come to fruition. So we are completely in favor of that, the potential for that, but we believe this should stay as a residential zoning. If it was, if we were in a different situation and it was presented where that would be locked in, that this would be the applicant, for example, that would be different. But, I mean, once you open that door, what are you gonna do? Oh, what if that was to fall through, where we could put a restaurant in there, that could be anything. So that's really where our concerns are, not with the potential plan, but with it being,
Thank you. Can we do any conditional zoning on that piece of property, Justin?
No, sir. The application was for straight zoning, so the town nor staff has any ability to add conditions to it.
Okay.
so if they did, they'd have to go back through
Yes, sir.
the zoning process?
Yes, sir.
And I do have a question for you, sir, and I'm gonna pivot this off of Councilman Kitt's question earlier. And this would apply to all the other folks that have came up and spoke tonight, and I appreciate that. But what is your opinion of this property if it were developed into, what we say was 6 acres? So you figure 5 homes to an acre, 30 different neighbors right there, 30 different families.
Sure.
30 different personalities.
Sure.
You know,
Absolutely.
versus a 9 to 5. And this is just for my knowledge.
Of course. I think residential is what we would focus on today and at this moment. Who knows, we could say that if we were to get a townhomes in there, would I be for that? Would I be opposed to that? I can't say. I would need to understand the applicant, and I would need to understand if this was a conditional sort of a zoning where we knew what was going in there, I think we would be having a different, we would be talking different at this point. But would we want a very dense townhouse sort of a situation to go in there? Probably not. If we had our way, we understand, we all agree, there's going to be development that's gonna happen here. But what direction is that development gonna go in? Do we want that direction of development to go commercial use, or do we want that direction to go somewhere else? They could open up the property for this sort of use, and then 5 years from now, to move for whatever reason, we don't know. I mean, anything could happen for it, and the cause is wonderful, and no one disputes that. But it's commercial. I mean, we've got our 2 little spots of red right there, and once you throw in another little spot of red right there, then who's to say, what about a little bit of more red right here? What about more red right there? It's already there, so why not just this? It's a domino thing, and we're very afraid that once that zoning, after today, we have no say in whatever happens, whatever comes next. You will never hear from us again when it comes to, if this gets zoned as commercial, we have zero input. Anything could happen. And we're very, very worried about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Any other questions, gentlemen?
All right, thank you. All right, can I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? Marilyn, I want a roll call vote on this, please.
Councilman Dennis?
No.
No.
Councilman
No.
Swanton?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, that fails. Thank,
And let me be clear on my vote. After hearing the testimony here tonight, I agree with a lot of the residents in that area. I also am for land rights, but due to the location of this property, I would feel more comfortable if there was a conditional zoning on the property
yes.
to preserve that corridor, that area, and these residents. I'm not opposed to growth in the least, but I think some parameters would need to be put on this by Justin and the Planning Commission to make sure, since it's kind of outside of our comp plan and things of that nature, to make everybody. So my no is based upon a conditional zoning, and I want that on the record, please.
Okay. Second reading and public hearing, an ordinance to amend Chapter 16, Article of the Town Code, Tree Protection Ordinance to adjust certain processes and mitigation requirements. Justin?
I'll take this one.
Oh, Jeff?
All right, so, council asked us to look at the tree ordinance, to make it less burdensome on homeowners in town. We presented findings from our consultants, which we reviewed. Last council meeting, we presented a proposed ordinance. What is before you is that proposed ordinance with the change that was asked for, so that existing single-family residents would not have to pay mitigation for anything other than a grand live oak.
Good job, Jeff.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. All right. Public input. If you signed up for public input, I'll call your name. Please come to the podium. You'll have 3 minutes to speak. This time is to give citizens a chance to give town officials feedback. If you would like any follow-up and have checked a box on the sign-up sheet, someone from the appropriate department will be in touch. This meeting is for the council and I to conduct business of the town of Moncks Corner. So our first one is John Delude.
Mayor, members of council, good to see you again. My name is John Delude. I live at 204 California Avenue here in Moncks Corner. I'm here on behalf of beautiful Savior Evangelical Lutheran Church regarding stormwater fees. The church is located at 134 Fox Bank Plantation Boulevard in Moncks Corner. I currently serve as the president of the executive council for that church. We're a small church. We average about 75 to 85 attendees every Sunday. And through a lot of hard work and determination, we were able to build a new church campus at the head of Fox Bank Development, and we're proud to be a part of the Moncks Corner greater community. We recently received an invoice from the town for the annual stormwater fee of $1,592. I guess coincidental with what we got going on here with the bond discussion. A previous year bill was $868. So our current bill is approaching double the amount we paid the previous year. We now, all of you have heard me before regarding the critical situation we have in Moncks Corner associated with stormwater management, and particularly the situation related to California Branch. And I completely understand and support the significant significantly overdue investment in this problem. I commend you on moving forward with this, so I get it. There's no need to convince me of that. What I'm concerned about, however, is the manner in which the town of Moncks Corner is charging non-residential entities such as our church. And more importantly, the size and timing of the increase. Here's what I discovered. The fee is based on impervious area of non-residential properties. But for our church, and I assume for many businesses and churches built more recently, the town and the county required a stormwater management plan to include appropriate infrastructure to be designed and incorporated into the site plan. So that the post-development runoff equals the pre-development runoff. If you understand what I'm saying, the runoff that would have occurred before you ever built a facility has to equate to the runoff that would occur post-development of that facility. That's the way it's designed. Simply put, the town required that we design and build adequate stormwater detention facilities on our site such that we do not impact runoff. Our site has no more runoff today than it did before it was built. However, the town has been charging us since 2020 $868 a year for a total of $5,208 for an impact that we addressed through your compliance requirements when we constructed the site in 2016. Going forward and based on the current rates the town has recently enacted, our church would have to pay about $10,000 for the same period. Besides almost doubling the fees, the town of Moncks Corner is charging us for an impact that we are not producing. The town required that we spend the money up front, which we did at considerable expense, so that we would not produce the impact for which we are now being charged. It would be fair, in my opinion, for the town to charge a fair rate for those non-residential properties and property owners similar to residential property owners, so that you have a stormwater system that can be maintained. But for it to charge our church a fee for an impact that we already required to mitigate as part of our original construction seems inappropriate. Finally, I've been president for our executive council for about less than a year now, and based on a review of our email records, our previous council president contacted and had conversations with the town of Moncks Corner back in 2020. And I haven't confirmed with him who he spoke with here at the town, but and he's also an engineer like myself. But the email he provided indicated that he spoke to the town. The town suggested that we should get credit for our stormwater infrastructure. Now, I realize the responsibility for applying for credit lies with us, but it's clear to me that we have a facility that's stormwater impact neutral and deserves credit for previous fees for whatever period of time the town statute would provide, and that going forward we should not be paying a $1,600 fee either this year or in the future for an impact that we're not generating. And I'd be happy to discuss it with you, Mr. Mayor, or members of council, or the staff, and I'll be happy to take any questions you might have.
Well, for this, I mean, for me, we got to keep the meeting going. I mean, I gave you like 5 minutes for this, but please, if you want to talk, I mean, I would be more than happy to schedule and any of our council members, but for this isn't on the agenda to go into right now. So please, that's why we ask you to check, and then we can get with you on it.
Sure, certainly, and I want to, if I may, I want to thank Councilman Kitts for his many years of service here in the town of Moncks Corner. Thank you, Dwayne. And I want to commend and congratulate Councilman-elect Dingle for his recent election. I look forward to hearing good things about how you're leading our town.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Jody Wright.
Apologies, Mayor and Councilman, that was me signing up for earlier.
Okay, well, thank you. But please, my number's on the website, email, get with me and we'll bring you in and discuss it with you. The one thing I will say on the stormwater is this is a project, as you said, it's needed to be done. It's a hard one to take, and I kind of talk about with people when I'm one-on-one with them. It's like, I don't have kids in school, but I still pay school taxes, right? It's a common shared thing that we're doing to get this fixed and improved. And sometimes it's just better to rip the Band-Aid off and get it done and then go from there. But I look forward to sitting down with you and maybe we can grab lunch or something, so thank you. All right, we need a motion to go into executive session to discuss contractual matters related to the Jolly Lane property, contractual negotiations related to the downtown redevelopment project. Do I have a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We are now in executive session. So you're gonna make this motion. All right, is there a motion to come out of executive session and reconvene the meeting? Second?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. We're now back in session. Council is out of executive session. Don't act- Or is there any other matters to come before council?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the town enter into a lease agreement for property located at 201 Whitesville Road here in town with Daniel Allen Cross and Megan Hazel Cross under the terms and conditions set forth in this agreement.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Can I get a motion to adjourn? Second? All in favor? Aye. We are now adjourned. We got some stuff to sign up here too.